Hello, everyone. Yeah, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Yeah, from every corner of the globe, we're here to bring you great content on Millennials 360. So, with me, as always, amazing content, amazing stuff, amazing topics, and better than that, amazing co hosts. So, I got Labgorilla here with us and Shane, all the way from Malaga.
Buongiorno.
So, yeah. So we have quite the show for everyone. A lot to talk about, especially considering what happened last night and how everyone might feel. But yeah, I mean, so John, how do you take it? You were on this morning as well. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I was. The funny thing was, last night after the game, I had an hour on the phone with Kim. Then after that, I had pretty much 2 hours with Nico. So I feel like my rage is pretty much past. And then I started to continue to do the research for this episode, and my rage built again. So I've got plenty of rage. I need lots of bananas, man. Calm me down. How about you, Shane?
Yeah, it's been okay. It's been an eventful weekend, but of course, I was really looking forward to seeing this game. I didn't realize how bad an advertisement it would have been for Italian football. Actually, watching it though, it was absolutely disgusting. Thiago Motta, I don't know. Maybe I overestimated him because I thought he was, somewhat effective coach. But literally, it's kind of Allegri ball 2.0 that he's playing there. Did the job against us, because obviously once the team actually has, can defend for the most part, we can't seem to score. Game was very poor. It's going to be you could literally, this game could be used just to completely, frame and underline our season. When we're supposed to show up, we don't show up. For the most part. The Inter, I said it after the Inter game, where we won that Inter team were tired. I don't think we can look at this as an indicator of where we're going, no matter how, even if I was happy with the result, of course I was. The Real Madrid game, which somehow, that was a miracle. I think that's a Real Madrid squad that is, it's coming to the end of Carleto's tenure there, I'd say. So we can't look at that as something to base success on. Overall, there's nothing surprising that I'm seeing here. It's just par for the course. Honestly. What about you, Husni, though?
Yeah, of course, I sacrificed part of my morning to watch the game, but what did we expect? Well, same of the pretty usual stuff that many expected. I did think that we would actually have that off chance to actually beat them because the game afterwards, those are the games that we actually tend to lose. These are the ones that tend to keep Fonseca at the job. But he did manage to do his part by really producing another boring display from the team, and now we're left to really pick out the pieces in terms of our messed up emotions about how we are falling further and further behind in the table. When, as he said, we are still somewhat in a Scudetto race. I don't know what sort of race starts from.
Oh, yeah. Post game comments. He was on drugs. I think he was smoking a blunt.
Well, he must be quite happy with the fact that he kept a clean sheet. I don't know how he takes it in his books or how he sells that to Ibra and the rest of the management by saying, I'm making progress. Clean sheet, maybe I can keep another clean sheet and maybe draw another game. It's so messed up. I mean, but let's get into this.
Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to cover, so let's get into it. You've
All right.
got control. Here we are. Okay.
Yeah, so for everyone who's wondering about our title, so we've got something special for us. So, Labgorillas have to put up very professionally slides that help to guide discussions. Otherwise, the days that when we started this channel, we're just basically ranting, weren't we, Shane? So
Very true.
Proper legit.
Those were the good days, guys. It's the good days, man. Come on, it was good days. All right, guys. So, actually, Husni put a question in, which was, I want to talk about the Futuro team. I want to talk about the kids, and I want to have a look at them. And I'll be honest, guys. Prior to Husni asking this question, I had not sat down and looked at the Futuro setup. And now that I have, I am even more angry than I was last night. So let's begin. Let's begin. It actually all starts here. If you remember, the final day when Ibrahimovic was basically, he finished his career, and the Curva Sud, this is incredible display for him. The fans, there were plenty of tears in the stadium, and he got this display that said "Goodbye," and you'll understand in a minute why Ibrahimovic is actually so important in this entire story. There is something about when he first joined us. We all asked for several months, what is he doing? What is his role in the club? And as it turns out, what he was doing was, he was in Cardinale's ear, and he was giving him advice. And in my opinion, really poor advice. And he instilled and installed players and people that basically are leading us to where we are today. So, Milan Futuro. It's a squad of 31 players, average age of 21.2, estimated current market value of 34.11 million euros, and degrading very rapidly. Now, I'll read it to you in English. So this is Ibrahimovic's comment, and he says, we have officially announced Milan Futuro. We want talents to have a chance of playing in the first squad. With the previous system, the Primavera and the first squad were too distant apart from each other. A young player entering a Primavera at 16 to 17 years of age was not physically ready for the first squad. With Milan Futuro, we will have more time to grow. Serie C is another level. I'm hearing some feedback. Can somebody mute themselves? Okay, whoever that was. It says in Serie C, there's another level. We're going to be able to get the players ready to play with adults, right? So that's his comment. And you kind of think, okay, so under Ibrahimovic, Maldini would never have seen the pitch. Yamal would never have seen the pitch. Prodigious talents would never have seen the pitch because he feels that they're physically not ready. That was his judgment, guys, okay? His judgment. So then he kind of goes, okay, how do I continue this story? Then he says, the responsibility for Milan Futuro will be with a guy called Kirovski, who has played as a professional football player. He's American, played as a professional football player in several teams in the US. He has worked with LA Galaxy. So it's one of his buddies from LA Galaxy where Ibrahimovic had come from, right? And then he says, by the way, the coach for Milan Futuro will be Daniele Bonera. He has got great experience as a footballer, and he has played with Milan for several years. He has got his license as a coach, and he has been in Pioli's staff, which means he has great rapport with the youth. He has no ego, and he's open, and when Fonseca needs something from him, he will make himself available. Okay? We are happy and trusting. Welcome, Daniele Bonera. So, you remove a successful coach, you replace him with an inexperienced coach, and you give us this spiel about how. Now let's look closer at this dude, Kirovski. Kirovski, basically, Ibrahimovic went to Cardinale and said, I want you to put my friend as a pseudo sporting director, and I want him to control everything in the under-23 stage of Milan. I should say, this guy, right, he's American. He's been in youth squads in several teams, including some youth squads as a player, in Europe. But in a managerial terms, he has zero experience in Italian or European football. So this appointment was made, and then Jeffrey Moncada was made technical director instead of just chief scout. This is what happened all at the same time. And I should say, in 2024, Corriere dello Sport, Kirovski is quoted as saying that he will have more focus on foreign talent rather than Italians going forward. This is the roster of the youth squad, guys. 31 players. The only reason that average age is 21.2 is because you've got Divock Origi, Fodo Ballo-Torre, those magnificent players that like to disappear and sit in the toilet and travel Italy and, I don't know, go on beaches in different Italian cities. But look at this squad. Look at this enormous set of players. You imagine having such a big squad under the control of someone who has never managed in Italy or Europe with an inexperienced coach. What do you think happens when you put something like this under their control? Well, this is what happens. Our fixture list, our results. 2 wins in every, out of 13, 14 games. Yeah? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 games. 2 wins out of 14 games, guys. 2. Yeah? Including a loss on the 21st of November of 4-1 to Pescara, who are the league leaders, to be fair. So, you know, they're men and they're physical and they're strong, and our players are not ready. So this is the league table, Serie C Group B, that's where we are. You don't see Milan, do you guys? Where's Milan? I don't see Milan. Oh, it's because we have to go to the next page. There they are. Can you see that? 3 points away from automatic relegation. AC Milan under 23. This is how to destroy a football club, in my opinion, my humble opinion. You put in place Kirovsky, who might as well be made of glass and be called Swarovski, as far as I'm concerned. It's absolutely pointless. You put your buddies in place, you ruin the club. Abate, yeah, sure. I don't want your son to play because I think Camarda might be slightly better than him. All right, piss off. I'll put Bonera in place and tell everyone that he's a great choice because he's got good experience with Pioli, who is a magnificent instructor. Now, Husni, you keep confusing me with your Krunic there, man. Husni, you asked me to pull up, some players that I've left to kind of try and indicate what they're up to. So I thought, okay, let's look at Lorenzo Colombo. We gave him to Empoli. I believe we gave him on a free, right? On the right-hand side column is the amount of minutes that he's played in all those games. 2 goals, 1 assist, right? 85, 87 minutes, 61, 63, 73, 58. He's played most games. And Empoli are 10th, 15 points, only 4 points behind us in the league. So Colombo got what he wanted. He got to play, right? Let's look at one of our favorite sons, Simic. He's been, the talk of the town because, of course, we get rid of Kalulu. We bring it, what's his name? Pavlova? Pavlova, the guy that likes to send people to hospital when training with them. An absolutely madman. So we had another Serbian, by the way, Jan Karlo Simic, who has been playing with Anderlecht. Basically, if you look on the right-hand side column, 90 minutes pretty much every single game, scored 2 goals. And according to Transfer Market, his value at the time of the transfer was 5 million. We got rid of him for 3 because we're Milan. Wonderful. So what are your guys' comments on the youth squad before I move on? Shane, you go.
So I just want to go to Kim's comment there where he said, this is the seriousness of the club, hiring friends instead of serious and ambitious people. Absolutely freaking sad and pathetic. And it really is. And I'll tell you why it's really sad though. So, I think we've all done it in careers at some point, whereas if we may know someone that's a friend, right? And we say, right, this person could be really good for this role at my current job, right? I'll refer to them, whatever, and I think they'd be a good match. Yeah? Right? But the thing is that works if it's one of the lower end jobs, right? That doesn't work. It's a very specific new role that is being created, right? When it's a new role that's being created in a new project, right? You don't want, I know this guy, he might work, right? You need someone that has a proven track record of success. we need a sporting director. We don't need a guy that can, that's great at balance sheets like Forlani, or fucking Eber, whatever that combination it is that they do. That should be a fucking a sporting director. I don't understand it. And one thing, like, why I think it's kind of fucking stupid in the end, right, is if I can understand it from Cardinale's perspective, where he's going, okay, I want someone exciting to me in my project that I, still owe 500 million on. That's not mine yet, right? But I want someone exciting that I think can make it work. Okay, but what happens if they don't? Right? What happens if they don't work? What's the plan B? Right? Because the thing is there doesn't seem to, like, the axe fell very hard on fucking Maldini when it came time. Right? And we're getting worse, and we're actually, like, in the context of us being competitive, right? Every fucking season we're getting worse, right? So when is the axe going to fall, right? Because I understand we all know it's not going to be Cardinale, right? Because he's going to maintain ownership of the club. But like, at what point does he say, what I have now is not working? Not only is it not working, it's actually completely, it's at the point where, and this in itself is a fucking achievement, right? Because if you hire someone to do a job, right, and the people that you hire actually offend and annoy the fans, right, you're not just, you've gone complete opposite to what you should have done. So this doesn't surprise me, right? It's going to happen more and more often as well, right? Very concerning as well, though, is, what you had said there, that oh, well, we're going to try and fill it with international players.
Yeah.
At what point?
I mean, that explains Vol, doesn't it?
Where are the Italians coming from? The country that it's in.
Well,
like, this makes no sense. Horrific. But again, I'm completely not surprised, man, because honestly, I think, like, this is the first ever banter era that I've seen, right, that has been started by someone. Usually banter eras are, oh, we're out of money.
Yeah.
Right. We're out of money. That's it. We're out of money. Sorry, guys. But when you get someone who's literally banter-aired themselves by implementing an untried, untested system, and they're afraid to say that it doesn't work, that's the fucking problem. And that's where we are. So God help us for the next 3 or 4 years, or 5 years, or whatever it is, because we are fucked. Absolutely. Over to you, Husni, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, is there feedback, John? Is it clear?
No, all good now.
Okay. Yeah, I echo a lot of what Shane just said. This is just another string of mistakes in a long series of mistakes stemming all the way back from when Cardinale took over. So the inexperience of the man as an owner of a club as prestigious as ours, I mean, it just has no limits to the sort of blunders that he's making. The fact that he had to wait until really the last day of Maldini's contract to try to renew the man, a season later to fire him, put trust in people who have. Let's be clear here. Zlatan has zero managerial experience. Yeah, he has not been a football manager. He's just been a captain.
Or skills, Husni. Or
Yes.
skills.
Decorated player, but somehow that qualifies him to know everything that goes on in the club or to make key decisions. I mean, at least put someone who probably has a finger on the pulse of the market, to really be the point man about these things. So what else do they do? Yeah, they bring up Moncada, a good scout, but yeah, as we can see, he's excellent probably in the French market, but yeah, you can't really say that him being good in Monaco really, and I guess he also had quite a bit to play in terms of how we organized the squad for the Scudetto winning season. But to elevate him to a role further, and based on what John has said in the slides, yeah, another disaster. So if you ask me that, is the youth performance as a result of the guys directly in it, and as both Shane and John have mentioned, no, it steps all the way from the top. Incompetence at the very top, another incompetence middle management, and we get these sort of results. So Simic, and I just want to spend a little bit of time on the slide. Simic has so much potential, and there was an interview that was reported in terms of really addressing some of the points about why Simic decided to leave. Because a big part of it was his decision, really, and you can't really keep a player that he doesn't want to stay at. His contract's up. Maybe wouldn't renew. He had the option of either being in our futuro, seeing how it's going, versus taking his chance elsewhere. Now tell me, any young player, if you want to do great things in your career, why would you even want to stay in the futuro? I doubt anyone in the futuro has seen their market values increase. None. And if we were to look at some other players, and we have quite a pool of talent that we've actually let go throughout the years, and we can see that where they've gone. So let's just take maybe a very comparable example. We'll talk about Bartisagi, who decided to stay. So he's played 11 times, 2 yellow cards, 1 goal in futuro. And this is a kid who actually did manage to. I think he was the one that scored for it, didn't he? Bartisagi for last season.
Yeah.
And
I think he did, yeah.
And if you look at the use that we're circling, we're also looking for yet another deputy to Theo. So he's not going to get a chance. Jimenez, looking to get loaned out, not going to get a chance. So if you were to look at all these examples, which path do you think as a young player would be the right path for you? And that's only looking at these 2 other names. I want to throw in another name, Milos Kerkez. Anyone remember him? He was one of the rising stars from our team. He scored in a preseason. I still remember that, in the Scudetto winning preseason. Where is he now? Bournemouth, playing every game at the Premier League with a market value of, and let me check that according to Transfer Market, 20 million. Had he stayed, guys, where do you see him? Maybe he'll still be in Futuro, but he has 2 assists in the Premier League, it's a matter of time before just any other possibly Premier League team picks up for maybe 30-40 million. But we pissed that chance away. So how they handle the youth, like Shane mentioned, not surprising. They don't know what to do. Anyone comes in the offer, I mean, just put a number down. We'll let these kids go for nothing. It's so sad. It's so sad when if you don't want to spend big money on the transfer market because Jerry's stingy as hell, or they don't know also what they're doing at Mercado's level at that point, at least develop the guys that cost you nothing. But again, not willing to do it. So that's my mini rant that you got.
No, great points, guys. I mean, ultimately, Colombo and Simic have done well to leave. They've got playing time, they're getting experience, and they are growing as football players. The problem for me is I had heard that Ibrahimovic had put some friend of his from LA Galaxy in charge of something. I hadn't quite put 2 and 2 together that it was actually Ibrahimovic who went to Cardinale and said, hey, I've got this guy. And Cardinale basically seems to go, you've got carte blanche, Ibra. You make the decisions here and I will trust you with them. Well, you know what? This managerial banter era, because this is what it has to be called, this managerial banter era has been brought upon us by ego. That's what it all comes down to. Ibrahimovic saying and believing that he can do a job he has no experience of doing, saying and believing that he knows people who can do the job when he does not. He cannot judge that. So ego is basically resulting in our club being gutted from the inside out. That's how I see it personally. It's not, as I was saying beforehand, I think I said last night, it's not the playing staff at the moment. It's the managerial staff that's the problem. And the longer you leave the managerial staff in place, the longer they're going to affect the youth squad and our transfer market, which means that eventually they will make the actual playing squad and playing staff banter era as well. So, as you said, Shane, an incision is required now. Cardinale has to look at it and say, you are devaluing my club at every single step, in every department, from the senior squad to the youth squad. You're devaluing my club. I need to now remove you. I made a mistake. Ibrahimovic is not somebody that knows everything about Milan. The famous words from Cardinale, who knows Milan better than Ibrahimovic? I think I can name 30 people, at least. And those are players.
I think I can name the sporting director before Ibra that Cardinale fucked out. I think it's a fair stab to say that he knew more about Milan than Ibra did.
Yeah. I'm trying to stay away from that, Shane, today for one day. But you're right.
Sorry.
You're absolutely right. So, okay, guys, good discussion there on the futuro, and interesting to find out that he's been putting his pals in place. So, again, Ibra, you want to ruin your reputation with the club and the fan base? You've done it. Well done. So let's move on. And I know we discussed it at the beginning, but let's just have a quick update on the this table is not up to date, is it? Because I think Atalanta are first. Well, the goal difference is better anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, but the names are the same inside the top 6. You won't see the red and black there. This is the problem that we have.
No. And again, all I've got is this because it's just dull. The game was, I think several Italian channels said, maybe the worst game of football that they've seen in 3 years.
Yep.
In Serie A. Where, yeah, sure, we had less of the ball. We had one shot on target, and I believe that shot on target was literally the last minute. Juve had 2 shots on target. Juve were missing something like 7 players through injury. This was definitely the opportunity to get them. But of course, Fonseca was a coward, and he put RLC and Musa, which we will discuss in a minute. So you go with a defensive setup. I wonder why you go with that defensive setup. You can take a chance. You can have a go at Juventus. He brings in Pulisic, with a few minutes to go, saying, he in the, I think the game, in the interview after the match, he said we were not brave enough in the final third. Where does that come from, I wonder?
Who said that? Was that
Fonseca?
I thought I said Ibra.
Yeah, Fonseca.
Okay. Fonseca.
No, Fonseca. Ibra don't say shit anymore. And I'm not going to listen to anything he says anymore. But no, Fonseca said basically, no, we gave them too much respect and they gave us too much respect, but we must remember that Juventus scored 4 goals against Inter, so we've done quite well. Honestly, this is what he said. I just thought, okay, whatever, mate. We are now in 7th place, I believe, and we are 9 points behind first place. So 3 games gone. Okay. Any comments on this? Any further comments than we discussed earlier on, or do you want to happy to carry on?
Yeah, I just want to talk about.
I have. Oh, so
go ahead, Shane.
Sorry, Husni. Yeah, go on, man.
Okay, so I watched the game.
All right. Okay.
Oh,
so.
Okay, I'll speak a little bit about the game. Yeah, I watched the game for us over here in Asia. The game started around 1 o'clock, finished around 3 o'clock. So yeah, big shout out to everyone watching it in this time zone. It's not great. I think for Kim also pretty much the time zone isn't great as well. I have to say really is that this was the chance again to stick it to a rival, if indeed we still are inside that Scudetto race that Fonseca seems to believe that we are. But yeah, we just couldn't. The attacking firepower, one observations that I made is that it is not just during Fonseca's age, it's something that is creeped in from Pioli. Our build-up is so slow, guys. We wait until all 11 players all 10 players are in attack. Only then we could try to do something in front of their goal. Not going to work, especially when Juve have organized themselves well and really kept the chances out. And yeah, if I was really to compare it and contrast it to how they lead the attack, I mean, with 3 guys, then why did not send the volume? My bad.
Your mic is a little weak, Husni, just a little bit. There's a little bit of feedback. So Be careful as you
How
turn it
about now?
up because you might.
Is it better
I
now?
mean, it's fine for me. I've got headphones in, so it's fine for me.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys. Try to speak a bit louder. So, if I were to compare that against Juve's attack, then it would be three of their players easily, cutting through our midfields and really trying to take it up to Mike. So, disappointing overall in terms of do we ever get to see a different style about how we approach our games? Not at all. And a lot of what other fans have been saying, our lack of ideas, the chances that we made. This is Juve, we can't really approach it like they're bonsai in that case. So really, that's my disappointment after staying up in those early hours. Sorry, Shane, go ahead. Your views.
Yeah, so just on the game itself, right? So I think this kind of ties back to what Moncada said earlier, right? That he specifically, or they chose Fonseca because they wanted to implement this exciting type of attacking football. Essentially, they want to play like an EPL team in the Serie A, right? Historically, EPL teams, for the most part, unless it was like the last couple of years, but historically, right, EPL teams never did any good against Serie A teams in Europe, right? So that'll tell you all you need to know, right? So we're playing this bargain basement EPL type, brain dead football, which is literally run around like your school kids after the ball for 90 minutes, right? We're wondering why we're failing. We're failing because the players that we're getting to implement it aren't good enough. I mean, watching the game yesterday, right? We had RLC playing, right? Morata was invisible. To be honest, I'm the longer that Morata is playing for this club, the less value I'm seeing him provide, because it's getting frustrating to the point now where if someone even brushes his jersey with their fingers, he throws himself on the floor.
Thank you, Shane.
So he's
Thank
probably
you.
guilty.
Yes. Great point. Yeah.
He's probably breaking up more attacking chances at this point than he's actually providing, right? So again, there's been no increase in quality there. Chukwueze, if we're consistently playing either kids or if we're playing a relegation threatened squad, that's where you bring on Chukwueze, but he doesn't have anywhere near the quality of Pulisic to be on that right hand side. I'm sorry, he just doesn't. Right. The defense was, I mean, to be honest, Chow played okay. Right, Chow played okay. Yeah. I think he was alongside Gabia, if I recall, right, for most of that.
He was, yeah. He was, yeah.
So the two of them, I mean, they looked quite good in comparison. But when the team that you're playing, their main attacking threat is fucking Weston McKennie and Locatelli, right? It's hard not to do well.
Yeah. I agree, right. Man. I mean, they had Coop Miners as a false nine.
Which again, great player. Coop Miners is a great player. That's the type of player quality
that we should be. You can't play as a striker.
But he's not a striker. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then, in like Royale in the right back position, I mean, getting subbed off and then Calabria coming on. Can you imagine, right?
Did you see Royale's yellow card?
I did. It doesn't surprise me either because he's
hilarious.
He's not a professional footballer, John. I'm convinced he's some sort of biological pyramid scheme that someone is making money on. Right, because the thing is there's no way. There's no way. There is no way, right, that he should be playing professional football. Right? Can you imagine, right, in any of the big leagues in Europe, right? Can you imagine any serious team that would say, right, our two, rotating, alternating, starting right backs, we could say, are Emerson Royale and Davide Calabria. That literally would not be a thing. Like, unless it's Monza, right? Or like a mid, I'm talking like mid-level team here, right? I don't think even Fiorentina, they're Fiorentina quality level. No offense to Fiorentina, right? Because I know they're in fourth right now. But like, in the context of, Europa flirting with getting to the Champions League, there is no way that they would have that starting right back. And the last shout out of the night, this is not a positive one, right? But the last shout out of the night is, at some point, right, Theo Hernandez, right, this was covered in the media during the week, right, where Deschamps from the French coach, right, he had said Theo Hernandez is mentally fatigued, right, and it's like that guy has been ran into the fucking ground for the last 4 years by his club. There has been no one to back him up with consistency. He's literally been playing every fucking game, and people are wondering why he's mentally fatigued. That poor bastard is due to sign a contract, and they're haggling now over what to pay the man. I mean, if his appearances, right, if his amount of fucking appearances are anything to go by, right, he deserves more than fucking Leao does, right? And then people are wondering why he's mentally fatigued. It's like the guy is worn out, he's broken, he's wrecked. He needs to have someone to fucking back him up, basically, that's of quality. But we're not going to get that with Moneyball. And by fuck, if we start losing the likes of Theo, because they're like, he could literally be earning more money, right, at a serious European level team, right, where he can say, you know what, if I'm tired, right, the coach isn't going to play me because I'm fatigued and I need a rest, and I can be earning more money. So why the fuck would he stay here? Like,
I think a lot of the players are going to start to look at their future that way. The thing is I know that, for a player to stay, it's more than just their own personal wishes. It's also about their families. And some of these guys are settled. Milan is an impressive city to live in, So I understand that could be a real part of the attraction why some of these guys are staying, guys. Which is great for us. The discussion is that these guys are serious about renewing. But on the footballing side, no, I agree. You've got to see a future for the project. Otherwise, you kind of say, you know what? Real Madrid might want me. Bayern might want me. I might go.
John,
yeah.
On that point, I think some of these players, they see beyond the club. So in the case of Theo, Mike, and maybe Morata, this is my speculation. If they don't win anything with Milan, they probably don't care because they got a good chance at winning with their national teams. So that could be another motivation, saying, okay, I'll just treat this like my training ground, kick the ball here, try to win a game here and there. But when it comes to my national team, I'm going to give it all. And I think this is what's going to downgrade the club in the long run if we have this sort of players with that sort of mentality.
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, yeah, Fahadinho says it. Theo is underpaid and overworked. It's true. I agree. Right, guys, ready to move on because we've got a lot of Moncada stuff to talk about. So let's go to the Moncada. Right, so very big interview. I think it's an Italian website, and it's actually several pages long, this interview. So what I've done is I've tried to pick out things that are not being discussed so much in the media. One thing I'll point out is that he is quoted as saying, I travel a lot and I see that the strongest market is the French one. He was quoted as saying this in January 2023 to L'Equipe, which is obviously a French paper. He is a French citizen himself. So, algorithm is not spelled like that. Apologies. But anyway, so you're going to talk about Leao, Ibra, algorithm, and Fonseca. So on Leao. Now, this point is specific to, remember, guys, Fonseca decided to rest Leao, and people are saying, oh, what's going on here? Well, Moncada gives his opinion on the whole situation. He's asked, Fonseca took some big risks with his decision to drop Rafael Leao to the bench in 3 consecutive Serie A matches, substituting him early in other big games. Moncada insists that the club was behind Fonseca in his decisions. And he explains and says, look, Look at his performances against Real Madrid and Cagliari and on international duty with Portugal. That proves that Fonseca's approach was correct. I think that's really short-term thinking. And I would say, well, okay, what happened in the game last night? No, this is a very short-termism, and it's just brown-nosing on Fonseca in this particular response. The next one is an interesting question, and it kind of surprised me. The person asking the question said, by the way, I looked at your management team. For Moncada, you're 37 years old. Zlatan is 43. Furlan is 45. Do you feel like you're a breath of fresh air? Now, to my mind, experience is actually very, very important, especially when you're talking about one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Really important. You probably should have a technical director who is, has been in the job for decades, right? And he comes back, Moncada. There's a good mix. There's someone like me who comes from the world of scouting. Okay, you come from the world of scouting. You're not a technical director. Then there's a finance expert like Giorgio who says he's an absolute ace when it comes to the economic side. I beg to differ. Selling players for cheap or for free is not exactly being an economic ace. And then there is Zlatan, who brings the perspective of former great player. Yeah, that really qualifies him for being a concubine for Cardinale, doesn't it? Perfect. Yeah, because I believe only by working together can things be done well. Just shut up, honestly. Now, on Ibrahimovic, here comes a more brown-nosing. What's your relationship with Ibrahimovic like? And he says, we talk every day. We see each other at Casa Milan. We eat together. We have a good relationship. Well, maybe you might want to marry him. I don't know from these descriptions. He wants to get straight to the point, and I like that. We're together every day. Amazing, man. Do you discuss which players to sign? That was the next question. And he goes, oh, yeah, he likes that. I've set up a profile for him on a professional platform, maybe PowerPoint and Excel, and video analysis. So let me guess, YouTube. OnlyFans. So you can take a look at the players for himself. And I kind of think, if you set up a professional profile for him, why did you sign Emerson Royale? That's why I put this guy's... I should have put a picture of a chicken Royale on the side as well. Right. Today, you're the technical director, but you started as a scout. How much of the role is still part of you? And in this long spiel, he basically says, I'll be honest, I can't really do the job of scout much more because I have so many other roles to do. And then the question is, when Milan needs a player, what are the steps involved? He goes, we start with an analysis of the team and the areas we need to develop and improve. Right. Again, I'm kind of thinking, right, that doesn't make sense with who we've bought. It's not true that we rely solely on algorithms. Some of the decisions, I think, don't match that comment either. He says we use a database that helps us identify players from other countries. Comment here is, we use a database that helps us identify players from other countries. So, okay, you've got a guy that says the best market to shop in is France. And then he says you've got a database for other countries. Then he says you can be the best scout in the world, but you can't watch every league. Data helps to pinpoint profiles and gives you insights into certain players, whether young or not. Right. Data. So, when talking about Milan's transfer market, there's often mention of data, algorithms, Moneyball. Do you rely entirely on these tools? And he goes, data tells you if there's an interesting player to watch. How many scouts do you have on your team? He goes, I have 10. 5 in Italy and 5 abroad. I've said to you guys, I think the ones in Italy basically sit on their hands all day long. Do these scouts present you with a package on the player already prepared? He goes, it's a mix of many things. We have a structured methodology for video analysis. Each scout is assigned a specific region to cover. I'm going to guess none of those regions are in Italy, even the ones that are in Italy. First, they watch the player on video throughout the week, then on the weekend, then they attend a match. Again, you attend a match watching Emerson Royale, and what does that tell you? He's not a footballer. From there, you also get to see players live. And he goes, I try to see players live. He doesn't say, yes, I do. Right? Before you sign a player, do you need to see him live? He goes, yeah, it's impossible to close a deal without seeing a player live. So at some point, I'll have, we see him live. But I really trust my scouts.
Sorry, John, you know what this means, right? But life is just like got the match on and
Yeah,
kind of
right.
really
Yeah,
just
exactly.
watches the
Got it in
highlights
the
on YouTube.
background. Yeah.
What's that channel? Several channels that actually just focus on certain players, just gives you all the highlights. This is his job, maybe.
Ugh. So then he goes, so we return to data. How much do they help you analyze individual and team performances? And he goes, with the coach, we review the team's phases and use of data, how we press, the type of pressing we apply, expected goals, expected assists, all the chances we create to score, and why we didn't score. So you use this data to help you select teams. So why do you put Ruben Loftus-Cheek as a starter against anybody? Because none of his data that he's talking about here would match starting a player like him. It wouldn't, would it? None of it would. So garbage again. He's just talking. I don't know. I don't know who he's talking to, himself. And then on Fonseca, he said, at the center of all this is Fonseca. How did you choose him? Breathe. Paolo has a style of play that we saw at Lille, which I think aligns perfectly with what Milan should have. So Milan should have a squad that hardly progresses the ball, sits back, fears opponents, plays Musa on the right side, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek in cam, because that fits perfectly with what Milan should have, according to the super experienced 37-year-old Moncada. Right? And he goes, Paolo has some great ability to work and conducts very interesting training sessions. It's only November, but by the end of the season, I'm sure we'll see many players who will have taken a huge step forward under him. You know what? I'm going to say, as a fan, I doubt that very much. And I think, once again, Moncada, this time has got his nose stuck up someone's called Fonseca's backside. Right, the January transfer market. Are you already starting to see what Milan needs? He goes, yes. We've already started discussing with various people, like himself. He's spoken to Ibra, Giorgio Furlani, so people that don't have a clue about football. Jerry Cardinale hasn't got a clue about football. The coach, I argue he doesn't know a lot about football. We've had talks. We more or less know the profiles we want, okay? And next I'm going to refer to the Ricci signing. But I think it will be for June. Ricci will not be available by June, guys. I guarantee you. If he keeps us his performances, he will be priced out of what we want. Okay? We begin by identifying the profiles we're missing, and then we go for a last-minute buy and try and cheap out as much as possible. Sorry, I filled that bit in because that's the truth of the way they work. They create a shortlist, they say. And that's it. You guys, what's your opinion on hearing Moncada and his wonderful expertise?
All right.
Go on, Husni, you go.
Start. Or Husni? No, me? All right, okay. Yeah, all right. So I think at some point, right, that was a very boring kind of interview, wasn't it, really? Because it's kind of like, right, here's what I do as a scout. I watch videos, and then if I like a player, I go, let's buy this player. Happy days, right? But we all know this. Area concern I had, though, was it seems that, again, for a guy that hasn't even, hit 40 yet, to be calling the shots and to have such valuable input that he can, at some point dictate the starting lineup when he hasn't kicked a football professionally in his life is very concerning. I can see why this is failing. It's not working, right? The lack of, so fair enough. If they have 5 scouts in Italy, all right. I would, but that seems very high for the, because we're not really seeing any results from any of those, we're not seeing Italian players coming in for the first team. We're seeing quite a few, for the, for futuro, right? I get that, but not so many for the first team.
Shane, we're not seeing Serie A players, not even just Italian. We're not seeing Serie A players coming in.
Well, the thing is that, there's talks now. We're going for this guy from, who's it, Verona? who's been playing in Serie A, but
Right.
again, not Italian, Algerian or something like that, which, that'll tell you where the management's priorities are. Again, it really is just a case though where at some point, people can be promoted and it's just a level too far for them. And because with the promotion becomes new levels of responsibilities. And just because they were good at their previous job, it doesn't mean that they're going to be good at their current job, right? With the extended responsibilities. The new management structure the Cardinale bought in, right, but we did say this, right? We said this after Maldini got fired, right? As soon as Cardinale had come and he said at the time, okay, so we're going to have Forlani, Moncada, and it was Pioli at the time, offering in working in like a triumvirate of, and they're going to work very closely in terms of, but we did say, okay, at that point then, if one person fucks up, because the three of them will be working together, then all three are culpable and responsible. And this is literally what we're seeing now, right? Except we have, Ibrahimovic, we have Forlani, and we have Moncada. I'm not even fucking putting Fonseca into this, to be honest. I refuse to give the guy any, verbal time because the guy is going to be gone in a couple of months anyway, right? He's unimportant to the club. He's unimportant to the history of the club and to this conversation. But for the three guys that are ahead of him, all three of those are culpable, not only for making horrifically bad decisions, right, when it's coming to, transfers and, players that they're bringing in. They're also responsible as well for the competitiveness of this club has just completely fallen by the wayside. I think what would strongly help, right, with our issues right now is, and Cardinale would have to bite the bullet and spend relatively big on Italian players. Because if you have a load of guys coming in from France, and John, I completely agree with your earlier comment about Theo, or about some of the French players, they may come in, or no, sorry, I think actually Husni, was you that said it, maybe they don't, playing for Milan is like a side hustle. They know that they can win big with their countries, right? So Milan is just kind of the side hustle, and they're happy to stay here, right? But the thing is you need Italian players to reinforce, the fact that, listen, guys, this is fucking serious. You need to show up and you need to, because we need to win, right? That's where they're failing here, right? So Moncada, as far as I'm concerned, I can't really say that he's, showing value, because any fucking scout that signs off on Royale being bought, Pavlovich being bought, I'm even going to
Yes.
Chukwueze, RLC, Musa, right? Fucking Romero, who's, God knows where he's gotten. I think he's in La Liga somewhere. Any fucking scout, right? If Moncada is, is working in this triumvirate now, I guess, with fucking Ibra and Forlani, and then, all three of them are culpable and responsible. Like, they have the responsibility for this club going south. So they need to go. They need to go. They need to go.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that he's done in this interview, he is utterly exposed, by pretending that there is this coordinated work going on. It's quite systematic and it's quite, laborious, and it takes a lot of intelligence to do. It doesn't match with the players that have come in. It doesn't match with the players that have been sold. It doesn't match with the way the team is playing. There comes a point where you've got to say you're not delivering on what you were supposed to be doing from day one. I think that's it. And yeah, I also agree with you. Fonseca, in all of this, is probably the least culpable, because I believe that he's not being given anything to do. Literally, he's like, here are the players, deal with them. Yeah? And then he says, oh yeah, Fonseca is a good boy. He's a good boy because he rested Leao, and look at how well Leao played against Real and Cagliari and for Portugal. Yeah? What about last night? What happened to him last night? it's just so short-sighted thinking, and you can brown nose as much as you like. But I've got a question for you guys. Wouldn't it have been better for Moncada to just not have said anything? Why release such a massive interview, which
No, it
literally...
would. It would. But the thing is, though, Chad, it was like the fucking book situation last week, right?
Yes.
This management are fucking stupid and tone deaf. And if I know the perception, even if I'm convinced, right, I'm doing solid work within the remit of what I can do. I'm doing solid work, right? Fuck what the public are saying, right? They're wrong. I know I'm putting in a shift and I'm doing right work. I will not have an interview, right? Because I will know that, right, anything that I say will be twisted by people or can be twisted by people. So I will just shut up and I will continue doing my work and hope that the results eventually come, right? I'm
Yes.
just waiting. I'm waiting, though, because this is going to be the key piece. And this is when you know that the man is about to get fired, by the way. When you see Ibrahimovic, right, doing a fucking ridiculous interview like this about what he does, at that point, right, he's fucked. He's gone. Because at that point, right, that's essentially Cardinale saying, right, right, we've cycled through Furlani, right? He gave that fucking, weird business fucking school interview, right? We cycled through Moncada talking about his scouting, right? Now we need to put someone else in the firing line here, right? So now it's your turn, Ibra, right? And Ibra will is tailor made for this because he's fucking stupid. Like, he's a very stupid man and he has no filter. So he'll come out, right? He'll say something that is fucking dumb. He'll get ripped apart. He'll get fired, right? I hope Furlani gets fired. I hope Moncada, as bad as it is, I don't think that he should be fired because I look at his historical results, but I think he should be demoted back to a fucking scout.
Demoted back to being a scout. Now, this is the point here, Shane. I mean, this is the point. And Jose, I've been saying this for a while, and I jokingly quipped that Moncada is trying to build the French national squad within AC Milan. Yeah, that's his prerogative to help. It feels like that's his prerogative to help the French national team, to help those players get together, be together all the time. Now we've got 3 of their players within our squad, and he was wanting to bring in more. But why, when he goes for an interview to L'Equipe and he says the best and strongest players, does he not think that the Italian press are going to pick up on that and then release it for people like us to be able to find it? When you've got people making comments like that, it is extremely dangerous to the club and to the fan base because all it's doing is destabilizing us. But we understand now that Moncada has no interest in Italian players. He's not really using an algorithm properly to select players. Yeah, they're basically just saying, I fancy this player, I'm going to bring him in, and they're dropping these players on Fonseca. It's questionable what Fonseca does. Honestly, it's questionable. Maybe on the day, on the pitch decisions, like, let's bring in Pavlovic as a sub. What? Because we're not risking enough. So, as you said, there's failure at every single stage. But just like the youth team is started with one individual who has been advising Cardinale completely the wrong things. So my point is this. Listen, Cardinale is our owner. Redbird are our owners. He's the least likely person to leave. But he must see that his investment is being degraded every single match day and with every interview as well. So to protect his investment, current squad, future revenues from prizes, then he must make a move and he must cut these people out. And I made a point when preparing this to say nothing but facts today. Yeah, these are their statements. The futuro stuff, these are facts. This is not our, conjecture and things thrown in it. These are facts. The Futuro team is shit. Today, it is a mess. Those kids are being thrown to the wolves. The current squad is in chaos. We can see it. We're 9 points by the end of November behind first place. 7th place Milan is in right now. These are just facts. And now these interviews tell us very openly Moncada is inept as a director, technical director. He shouldn't be doing that job. Yeah. Husni,
I
go.
just want to chip in a little bit. My view, especially with regards to the interview that he just made, and I'm trying to draw parallels with what Boban said. But Boban, he spoke about the management, so he complained to the press. But in both cases, I think what's common between the two is that they don't really know how to speak to the media, because fans like us are catching them out on it. For the case of Boban, I think he had a point, and ultimately he was proven right. By the way, he won the case. It's what they say ultimately does make a difference, and I think they need to be trained on that. So as Shane, you were speaking, I was actually going through Napoli. So Napoli, their story compared to ours isn't too far off. So last season they had a terrible season, by the way. No one can deny it. Napoli as defending champions, you could even call them that. Last season, they had it really bad. Yeah, they're out of Europe completely. But what did they do? And what have they done before that? Because they're in the title race. No one can doubt that Napoli is not in the title race if you look at where they are. And I think maybe I don't. Did they play yesterday? Not so sure. But if they played, they might be back in first place. They brought in Conte. Yes, a man with a high salary. But if you see the players,
Napoli are playing Roma today.
Yeah.
So they haven't played yet.
Yeah, and I think we can consider them as favorites, not Roma.
Should be a good game.
Yeah. If you see what Conte did with Napoli, he brought in a number of players. And by the way, Napoli lost one of the best strikers in the league. Victor Osimhen does not play for Napoli this season, if anyone wants to know. Yet they are fighting for the Scudetto. So that challenge and what that sort of coach can get you, it's almost a miracle. Let's take it back to us then. We had somewhat of a salary cap, not only for our players, but it seems also for management or for coaches. The best that they could do, I'm not saying that the best option, the best that this management could do was to bring in Fonseca. And let's put names like De Zerbi out, yeah? And apparently, Motta is not even a consideration, because as so many other fans like to defend his management, saying that, Juve were in for him a while back. This management slow to act, out of options, brought in Fonseca, and tried to cover up for it, because they know, I don't think their jobs are on the line. I think we spoke about this during this pod and several other pods. Their jobs are never going to be on the line because they're yes men to Cardinale. But they brought in a guy to essentially gamble, but knowing in high probability that he can't do the job. So this is a mess from top to down. Fonseca was brought in to integrate the youth. All these premises have gone. Change the formation out of the 4-2-3-1, bring in more youth. Both objectives failed. And now it looks like we're probably not going to be in Europe next season. So it's an absolute mess. And what's going back to Moncada, he again does not have as John, you mentioned, he does not have the experience to be a sporting director. A lot of people slated Maldini when he took on the job because he made mistakes. Let's all be honest here. Yeah? Maldini, he did make mistakes. No one is trying to defend Maldini's making mistakes, but he learned, and you could see that the progress at which he learned. And ultimately, from not getting into Europe, making it into the Europa League, back in the Champions League, winning the Scudetto, now we're all the way back down to the first box, or step 0. It's an absolute mess. And also to highlight one other thing based on this management, I was also going through, when you mentioned the book, I went through the AC Milan store. Zlatan is selling his books on the store. So I don't know if there's a fucking conflict of interest or what's going on there. It's absolutely inept. As both of you were saying, it's inept. It's a mess. Such a mess. Don't know how we're going to dig ourselves out of this one. Sorry, another rant for today.
No, but the point you made as well, guys, you said Boban won his lawsuit. He did. But listen to this biased, and I'm not going to mention the podcast, but there's a podcast so biased saying this. Boban won the lawsuit, 5.375 million compensation fee from Milan. However, the Diavolo has already taken it into account for their budget. In other words, no damage has been done. No, my friend, no damage has been done. To me, Boban was right. That's the damage that's been done here. He was right to sue Milan. It's reputational damage. But this, I just don't, I genuinely do not understand. Cardinale or whoever it is in there trying to spin this biased messaging that losing 5.375 million is absolutely fine. No, it isn't fine. Okay? Yeah. I don't know what else to say about this, guys. I genuinely... Now, first of all, Husni, thanks for saying let's have a look at the youth, because now I understand why the futuro is in such chaos. I have a much better understanding of that, which is it's really sad though, right? But then this Moncada interview, I didn't realize how in depth it was. There were like several pages. But Shane, yeah, we could have literally fallen asleep with most of the answers in that. But yeah, 37-year-old sporting director, Forlani 45, Ibra 43, AC Milan.
See, but the thing is as well, is it's not so anything released by the club in terms of an interview, right? It's done for a specific reason. Right, so it's not just by magic that a journalist showed up and was like, "Oh, let's do an interview randomly today." And Moncada said yes. Right, it's vetted, and it's specifically vetted for It's like, is now a good time, right? So indirectly, to me, right, interviews like this, right, it's confirmation that upper management, Cardinale, will say, right, they know that what they're doing isn't working. They know that what they're doing isn't working. So it's kind of like, if I need to scapegoat someone, right, what I'll do is, you will just give someone enough rope, right, and they'll fucking hang themselves, right? So it's kind of like now, I'm making people aware of what's his face, Moncada does, right? And now, so it's like, right, people know that's cool. But, also people won't be surprised, this time next year if Moncada goes, because it's like, well, this is what he was doing. You guys knew what he was doing. And look, he hasn't lived up to success. What's very concerning for me, John, this is a point that you brought up, and it is so true.
Feedback from someone's mic.
Oh, sorry. It's because they're washing the street outside.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. One quick one. Just before, it's such a pain in the ass when to do this. It's better than at 4 a.m. when to do it sometimes. So just one last quick one. Our management is very slow to say, look, we've made a mistake here. We need to change course. We need to, right the ship. So this does not bode well for us at all. And I'm sorry about the background noise. I'm going to mute now.
No, that's fine. Streets have to be clean, mate. But no, you're right.
Tell them to clean the streets of Milan as well, especially
clean the streets of Moncada, Forlani, Ibra. Clean them all. I don't. I think from a business perspective, this just doesn't make sense anymore. From a business perspective, I'm trying to put myself in Cardinale's shoes, however difficult that might be, and I'm not greasy enough. But I'm trying to put myself in these shoes and think, what would I do to protect my investment? And it's have to put a little bit of money into replacing the managerial team. The playing squad is the playing squad. There's nothing much you can do about it. Change the managerial team and have a go and see if you can rescue the situation, because it's a rescue thing now. It's all about trying to make revenues, because, guys, we've been saying this. More and more the revenues are coming from deals as opposed to actual sporting revenues, because the sporting side is being left aside. Unless that is the objective, guys. Fonseca in his bloody jacket yesterday.
Just a quick one. Fahadinho's point there, it's a really good one. at Lab, right? Milan got 13 players over 2 summers ago. Only 2 have been great so far. 1 or 2 have potential. This is all made by Moncada's algorithms and scouts. Very fair point, right? So I think, right? So sorry as well about the background noise. I think the best way and the big dick move to get us out of this situation, go to Atalanta, right? Steal whoever they have for scouting and for managing directors, right? Completely transplant them into our club and kick the fuck out who we have now, right? We weaken a competitor and we make ourselves very strong, and that could actually work in the context of Moneyball because the leadership at Atlanta have shown that they can do this. It's the only logical thing that makes sense for me. We need to basically take out whoever's making the decisions at Atlanta that are good ones, and then replace those in the club that that are making bad ones right now, like Moncada, Furlani, and fucking Ibra. It's the only thing that makes sense, man.
Yeah, I generally don't know what else he can do. I think the solution is crystal clear. The solution is crystal clear. But the question is, do you want sporting success? Do you? We do. Of course we do. We base everything on sporting success. But does he? I'm not sure. I genuinely am not sure. The stadium yesterday was full, and people said tickets were between 200 and 400 euros. Insane. You paid that much to watch that?
Yeah, we've been treated like a tourism spot, right? I mean, they're selling tickets like it's part of a tourism package. That's what it is now.
Well, I think what he said he wanted.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, he said he wanted to set up a system like that. But, Fonseca said after the game, if I was a fan, I would have whistled too. All right, mate. Well done. If you were a fan. Interesting way of putting it, actually, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know. Nothing much more to say. I think we're just going to have to sit back and watch the games play. I believe personally that we're going to pick up points in the Champions League campaign now because the tougher games are out the way. Just my personal opinion. Shane, I know. I've seen you shake your head.
No, but it's even if we do, John, who cares? Because the thing is we're not playing quality teams, and we'll get through to the next round, and we'll be all happy, despite us sitting in like 6th position in the league, right, and dropping points left, right, and center. And next thing, then we're going to meet, I don't know, Man City or Liverpool or Arsenal, and we'll get absolutely fucking ripped a new one by those squads. We will. We'll be decimated, right? And then it's like, oh, people are upset, and it's like, we know what we have now. It's like they should, if anyone is getting to the point where they figure out that they're getting upset by these results, like strongly upset, I'm saying, look, I feel you. I understand why you're upset, but it's like it should not be a surprise at this point in time.
Yeah, I think ourselves, many other podcasts have basically just like opened up. All the information is out there. It doesn't take much looking to see that the wound is open, it's festering, and something needs to be done about it. It's literally at that situation now, and I don't believe that there can be any fans that bury their heads in the sand. And as you said, Shane, you said we'll go to the next round and we'll be happy. I won't be happy because I can see what these guys are doing. I said at the beginning of the season, I don't understand Fonseca, but if he does what Ibra said, Ibra again, by the way, said he's the man to integrate youth. If Fonseca had done that, I would have 100% have been behind him. Yeah, but he did not. Yeah. Furlani needs to go, but Furlani can't be moved because I believe he's the Elliott man inside the system.
He'll be there until Elliott. As soon as Elliott, if Cardinale comes up with this 500 million Elliott goal, like the very next day Furlani's out. The only reason he's there is because Elliott still have a vested interest in, the running of the club.
Well, it could be that Invest Corp takes the debt over. I mean, this is the rumor from last week, right?
If it did, Husney, that would be fucking amazing. But you know yourself, us as Milan fans, we can never have good things happen to this club. This is just where we're at right now in the history of the club. Investcorp would be amazing. It would.
Yeah.
But I
don't see it. Yeah. Any more, guys? Do you want to tie it up?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make a special shout out to everyone who joined us in the chat. I think we have Fardino. Thanks, Fardino, always here with us. Same with Bernardi and from Let's Talk Milan. Jose, I have not seen your name before. I'm sorry if I've not been monitoring it well, but thanks for chipping in with the comments. And your views as well. And Kim, as always, thanks being part of this channel since the very early days. So I'd like to say once again, thanks to everyone, especially co-host Shane, John, for being with us and providing great content. And also to the rest of the Milan family. I just need everyone's help. If you can just like, and if you haven't subscribed, please do so.
Nice.
Every week we'll be having great content, and with the way this club is going, there's never really a shortage of things to talk about, particularly when things go wrong. So that's the highlight that we will have for you every single week. But until then, Forza Milan, everyone, and thanks. See you again very soon.
Forza Milan, everyone. Ciao.